Hello guys. So today's video is going to be a little different. It's not going to be a reaction so much as me trying to help answer a few questions. So, do I have exact answers of anything? No. But I've had at least 2 or 3 people that consistently bring up Miss Lillie. And even though I cannot give exacts of anything that's going on with her, I did just a little research just to try and see if I could fill in any gaps in the meantime until something becomes obvious. So, this first picture here is an overview shot of IAG Farms. So, the yellow line that I have outlined here is giving a general idea of their property line. Just a general idea. I know that where their pond is, let me see if I can, right up there where their pond is at the top, right next to it you can see a property. That's their neighbor. So I know that their property line ends somewhere in there because the next structure over that you see, which I am in the way of, I'll get down here. The structure that you see up there in the top left corner would be the neighbor. So, yeah, it's just a general idea. Then if you look over to the far right, you can see another body of water. So I'm assuming this is the water that he's talking about when he says that alligators can get on their property. But that, body of water doesn't look that large either. It's definitely bigger than their pond, but it still doesn't look, substantial. Then this little where the center line is coming in towards the middle is there where Emma is. So you can't see a lot of detail from this overhead shot. Let me see if I can. But this is Emma. And I'm assuming Happy Camper that you can see beside it. So you have their driveway. They have a very long driveway before you get to their property, which you can see that when they drive up the driveway. But it's just staggering to me that for the size property that they have, that you would actually put yourself that far back on your property. So if you can see, at the top of the screen where the yellow line is, that's where the road is. And then you can see how far back into their property that their home actually is. So they don't have very much property left before they run out of property. And you can clearly see property lines. If you, let's see if I can zoom into this part. So right here at the bottom of the property where their house is, you can see a clear line going all the way across. So you can tell where their land stops and new land begins. And you can see the neighboring properties around them. So it just gives you an estimate of where their property line is. And you can just kind of make out shadows of things like within that yellow square, you know that they have the pig pen that's down in that corner, in the right corner. And then in the left, on the left side would be where the shed shack is. So they, have way more property up front than they do behind them. And it just gives you like gives us a really good idea of what we're looking at when he's driving around there and showing the property. So this is me zooming back out. But I just thought that that was interesting. Just getting a general idea of everything that's out there that we see. And I still don't understand why he would want to be so far back on the property, but you know, that's not, I guess, any of my concern. It's baffling to me to see it in actuality. Like, my goodness, they have way more property up front, and then that the far right corner of their property, they don't even utilize it for nothing. They don't touch it. They don't go over there, and I guess that's where that water runs through. So it may not be even something that they can, you know, do anything with. But we go to the, okay, this is the next one. So this down below shows the neighbor that would be behind them. So this is just an overhead view of the property directly behind them. And you can see how big it is, how open and clean it is. They do have a brush area beside them as well, but it's a pretty large property. And then if you go back up to the top, that is IAG Farms. So these are the people that sit directly behind them. And then you can kind of see the surrounding properties as well. But it's just, you know, a different angle showing more of what's actually going on out there that we can't see. Just to give everybody a visual of when they're in certain parts of their property, what's going on. So I know it had been mentioned before about him doxing some of his neighbors by using their horses and cows for his backdrop when he's talking, making it appear as though those things may be something that he owns. But now you can see where animals could be roaming in the background on other property, and he's just able to see it and, you know, do make believe like he always does, because of how the properties are set up, how they butt up together. And, you know, judging by a lot of the other properties, they have a very long, narrow piece of property. But that's IG Farm. So we're going to move on to the next picture. I'm just, you know, like I said, just trying to give everybody a general of what we watch, what's going on out there, and then try to catch up with Miss Lillie the best way that I could figure out how to, without being weird, you know, like stalking or something. I don't want it to ever turn into that. So I'll just, you know, stay within my means and not go past that. So I'm gonna go past this a little bit. Okay, so then this right here is still the surrounding area for them. And I just highlighted all of the churches that surround them. So if you look right here, that little yellow dot is them. That's the outline that I had made of their property. So it's still visible. But you can see all of the churches that are directly around them. Can you see all of the churches? All of those highlighted areas are churches. And this is a All About God channel. This is somebody who's been called to the ministry. And I know he's retired at the moment. At first it was a sabbatical. Now he's retired. Ooh, get my words together. But you have all of these churches right here. And you know, when he was in the city and starting his ministry, he wanted people to come and believe in whatever it was that he was talking about. And help him to build a ministry, to give him a chance. Then you have all of these established churches around you, and you're not willing to go and do the same that you were asking of other people. You know, the Bible clearly says to forsake not the assembling of others. And I don't know how he's working around that scripture. I've heard him mention it before, but he's never addressed it. He'll say it, he still has not addressed it. But for you to have a channel and say all about God, and then to be in this close of proximity of so many churches, so many, and act as though you can't find one that you could make be your church home. There's no ministry going on at IAG Farms. Part of what he was saying his ministry was to help people. They're not doing that, not one person. But then you have physical churches that you could go to. So even if you're not continuing your ministry, you're continuing your education and your walk with God. None of us are above ever learning about the Bible. If you're a believer, you're forever learning something. You can read a scripture for 20 years, and that 21st year, it means something different to you. You hear something different in that scripture. 9 times out of 10, it's wisdom kicking in. It's life experiences helping you to reform those sentences, and it just has a whole new meaning at that point. So this family that says all about God, they do not allow their children to socialize with people outside of what's behind the locked gate. They self-educate them. Megan is not allowed to go anywhere without permission. But they have all these people down there that they could fellowship with. And I think that it's odd. I know that they live in the country. And even with them being in the country, that's how many churches are also in the country. So I'm going to see if I can zoom in on this. So that's all of the churches right there. But you see up there in the top right corner, it says Edwards. That is where the city is. Anything else that you're looking at is outside of the city limits. Edwards is up there in that far right corner. So then you have to go all the way down to the bottom. Where is it at? To this yellow dot down there. And that's IAG Farms. So they don't have to go into the city to fellowship with people. And you see that there are 2 that are just in their front yard and their backyard. Then there's one that's just a little further down that is closer towards, well, I'll get to that later, but so they have options. They have options, and you know, that's what I got within the screenshot, but it was a few more that were, you know, a little more spread out. And they don't even have to drive into the city limits. So whereas he says that it takes them, what, like 30 minutes to an hour to get into town, which, you know, I can kind of see that looking at this map, but you don't have to do that to go to church. And you're not working a 9 to 5. Everybody gets up and has their own schedule out there. So it would be nothing to get up and get ready for church on a Sunday. It would be nothing to go and have Bible study with people. But they don't do that. So, just wanted to point that out. I just, you know, was not even looking for that, but I just thought it was interesting. Like, wow, all of these churches, and they're highlighting themselves. I didn't look for those churches. I did not look for one of those churches. They're highlighting themselves. But Tim is a preacher, so I think he feels like he can't be taught by anybody else. He's the teacher. That's, he was never taught anything, and now he's convinced himself after having a congregation of about 20 people that you can't tell him nothing now. So this right here, this picture is from the street view. So this is being on the road and looking at IAG Farms. So surprise, surprise, the gate is unlocked, but you can see that the gravel, how fresh it was then. So I believe this picture was from last April, so almost a year ago. But this is the street view of IAG Farms, and we just saw from the aerial view how far back they sit from this beginning point right here. You have to go literally across the river, because they have a little river out there, and through the woods before you make it to Emma. You can't tell me that he doesn't act like somebody that's running from somebody or someone. I mean, something. Like, who does that? All of that beautiful property up front, and they're at the very back with the animals. They have the pig pen back there. They have the what do you call it, shed shack. Then they have the area over there where now that they keep the sheep, and they're right amongst all of that instead of being towards the front of their property. They could have been on this opposite side over here where they don't do anything. But I'm gonna go on past this one too. I'm just, giving everybody a visual of what we, don't know about what's going on out there. So this picture is of their neighbor. This neighbor is the one that is beside the pond. So I guess when we were looking at the aerial view, it would be the ones that were at the top of the property on the left side. This is those neighbors. And they're at the very front of their property. So it looks like they have a lot of property back behind them, but they live at the front of their property, like, you would just assume people would do. So that's those neighbors directly to the left of them. I don't think we've ever really seen anything from that angle, like when they go to the pond. So I'm thinking it may be just enough trees to not be in other people's business, like for them to keep their privacy. But that's where this is located. So this is their next neighbor. This neighbor is on the opposite side of them. I think, yeah, these are the neighbors that are on the right side of them. So same side of the street, but these are the ones that are like, I guess you could say, behind their house, because the way that they have Emma turned, this would be the property that's directly behind Emma. But if you're going down the street, it would be beside them. So it's two houses sitting on that property, but that's the ones that are to the right of them on the aerial view. And they live close to the front of their property as well. So we could see from the aerial view that they had a lot of property back behind those houses, but they live towards the front. And everything is cleared, cleaned off, grass, trees. So this neighbor is on the opposite side of the street. This house is more across from the last houses that we just saw. So the houses that sit on the right side of them, this house is more across from them than it is from Tim and Megan, but they're still directly across the street. And yet again, they're more towards the front of their property. And I don't remember the aerial shot of their property, but it seems like I remember it being clear back there too. You can see the trees in the background, but I believe that the land directly behind the house is just, is cleared off. So that is who this is right here, is the neighbors that sit directly across the street. So yet again, all of this is just giving everybody visuals. So when you watch something, you kind of know what's going on. Now, this information right here, this is a realtor listing. Their house is not up for sale. It has not been up for sale, but because it's a property, then you can find information on it. So it's saying that it's valued at $82,682. It's saying that they live in a 1,280 square foot home, and as you can see, that they're saying it sits on 4.05 acres. So we know that Tim has told us many times, and the numbers grow. So he said 7, he said 9, and he's even tried to stretch it to 10 and say that a lot of their property gets lost in the topography. So for anybody not understanding topography, it's like saying you have a hill, a huge hill in your yard, and that because that hill is there, it may not read as the exact amount of land that it actually is. So he's saying that he has about, if that's just 4 acres that they can account for, then he's saying he has anywhere from 3 to 5 acres that are lost in topography. So if there's a dip, like where the river or something may be, he's saying that that's a whole acre lost in that. It's a whole acre lost in some mound somewhere out there. That's what he's saying. And we saw the aerial view. Tim does not have that many hills and mountains going on out there, but that's what he says. So this was a fact check type of situation. Like, yet again, I really wasn't looking for that, but there it is, 4 acres of land. So anytime that you hear him talking about this in the future, there's really no guesswork. Like, is he telling the truth? Because it's telling us right here. And I tried to mark out as much information as I could, because I'm not trying to dox anybody. That's not my point of this at all. I'm just in looking for Grandma Lillie, I ran across her children as well. So that's what this is. No biggie, but yeah, that's what they're saying, that their entire property is valued at right now. So I guess with the acreage, that's, to me, that's more of the land itself and not anything to do with Emma. Because because I don't believe Emma is worth that much. So I know that that's a more of an acreage thing right there than it is anything about their house. But this next slide will tell you why I feel like that is more about the land than it is Emma. But is that? Oh, let's see. Go on forward just a little. So this right here is was another listing online, and it's talking about the house, but there's no picture of the house. And the reason there's no picture of the house is because they cannot get a street view of the house because it sits so far back. Their house sits so far back on that property that they cannot get a street view of it. So they took a picture of the property, and you can see where it's saying it's off the market. So they're not saying that it's for sale, but it is showing where that's their land, and the house is valued at $25,000. So I believe that this is the value of the house, and then the 86,000 is a totality of everything, the land and the house. So that was why I said I don't believe that it's valued at 86,000 because of that separate listing. Now here we have Grandma Lillie, and this is her I think this was a real estate listing as well, but it's just the picture of it. But it's funny because oh no, this is her street view. But it was funny because you can see the picture of the house, and you can see her vehicle, and this is like, when they just drive around and get pictures of everything. But if you can see over there to the side, Grandma Lillie is on the tractor. It's hard to see it, but that's her on the tractor. So they captured her out doing yard work while they were out, getting a census of the area. So I just thought that was funny. She was always very tidy, the exact opposite of her son. Always very tidy with everything that she had going on. So even like to see the little grass that's popping up through, I know she took care of that eventually. But she was out doing yard work and making sure that her house was still looking nice. This picture though is when she was still interacting with IAG Farms, because this picture was from last March. So it should be updating in like what, a month? Well, I guess it depends on the time of the month that they did it. So it could either be updating in a couple of weeks or, a month and a half. It just depends. But yeah, this was the street view of her property. And I just thought that was neat, to see her out there working on her property while they're getting a census of the area, so that they can keep everything updated. Now, I went back to the previous year. I didn't take a picture of it, but it did show where everything was just overgrown. And you can see the property where they thought was theirs. But everything was just overgrown. It looked like it did when they first were going to get everything started. So this is the real estate listing part of Grandma Lillie's property. So that's the same picture that I just showed earlier, but it's saying that her property is valued at $67,440, but it's saying that her square footage is 889 square foot, and we know better. If Tim and Megan have a 1,200 plus square foot home, Grandma Lillie's house is double theirs. Theirs is longer, but hers is double the size of theirs. So she has at least a 1,600 square foot home. I'm not sure why that says 889. I don't know how it's so far off. And there were 3, maybe 4 listings of it, and they all had that 889 up there. So it's saying that it's valued at 67,000 with the wrong square footage. So I don't know if making her home be larger would make the property be valued at more or not. I'm not sure. But for Tim and Megan to have been on their property longer than she was on this one, and for them to have so-called be established out there, and for her property to just be maybe 20,000 under them, I really don't think it's 20,000, but that's, the numbers in that ballpark. So that's saying a lot. And of course, they can't, like I said, get a street view of their property, but they still have given it a value. So, let me go down here. This is the description of it. It says this single family home is located at blah, blah, blah. The property is approximately 889 square feet. But then right here it says her lot size is 5 acres. So I don't remember what he said before about how big Resurrection Ranch is. I tried to rack my brain, and I can't recall. I have no earthly idea what he's ever said before, but now we know for sure that that's 5 acres. So that property is just slightly larger than where they live. They're shaped differently, but this says 5 acres. Now, Tim used to say how far back in the woods that this property went, but judging off of how they have everything measured out, that's not the truth. It can't be true. It cannot be that, because we see how Tim and Megan's house, how far back it sits on their property, but it's still not that far back. So for Tim to be claiming as much woods behind Grandma Lillie's house as he was, the math is not mathing. There's only one more acre to her property than it was to theirs. So a lot of tall tales was happening when he would be doing those videos, and we all know that he tells tall tales. It's sad when you find out for a fact he tells tall tales. It's mind blowing that a man that says preacher, a man of God, would actually be sitting up here making up stuff like that. And he does it quite often. You can tell when he's not telling the truth. And because he does it so often, I just believe every other sentence is not the truth. But eventually things come to the light. And that's what has happened here. Is just coming to the light that he does not tell the truth. So 4 acres and 5 acres. So if we do the math, that's 9 acres. 9.05 acres. So what he was saying that they have, just them on IAG Farms, is all of what they have together total. So I guess that's how he's justifying that lies, by saying he does own that amount of acreage. But it's separate. It's not together. That's not just the IAG Farms location. So he needs to stop it. But this part of the research just led me to believe Grandma Lillie still lives there, because the house said not for sale, and that it has never been for sale. It has not been up for lease. So that leads me to believe she's still there. That's where that conclusion. Okay, so this here is Lee Sales. This is Lee Sales Jr. So this is Tim's brother. And it says that he lives at that address, Grandma Lillie's address. Tim's brother is reporting at Grandma Lillie's address. I'm not sure exactly what that means. But that is his address. That's his reporting address. He's named after the father. So their dad's name is Lee Sales. He's Lee Sales Jr. Their dad is 70. He's 45. This is Tim's older brother. So, maybe this is why he doesn't go down there anymore. And I know that it has been speculation. It has been talked about. This theory has been brought up before. But to see that this is his address, this is what he calls home, would lead you to believe that this is why everything has been just, the ties have been severed. And I did watch Grandma Lillie's video earlier today where she did the walk and talk and was just, ready to break down and cry. And this has to be it. Her other son was coming to stay with her, and it caused a rift. So she's trying to keep her children together. She's trying to make sure that there's love above everything else, and then trying to make one of them be rational. And because he doesn't know how to be rational, then all he knew to do is to let his pride take over and not come around anymore. I don't think you should let him move in. I don't want him to stay there. But if you're going to let it happen, then I'm just not going to come down here anymore. You won't see the boys anymore. We'll just stay at home. And that's what I think has happened. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's coincidence that, because he was not living in the United States. They did say that before, that he didn't live in the United States. But now he has an address within the United States, and it is Grandma Lillie's house, her current house. Her current house, the one that Tim renovated, the property that was cleared off. This is in Edwards and not in Terry. So, do with the information what you will, but I just believe that the brother, well, I don't believe that his address is Grandma Lillie's address. And this is current information. So if he lives there, his mother lives there. So she's still at the address. She's still there. But I thought that this was so interesting because I'm like, he doesn't mention it. And, Tim, how old is Tim? 30, whatever. And his brother is 45. So that's a big age difference. And, you can bark at women, but he's not barking at other men. We already know he doesn't. But he's not about to try his older brother. So here he is having to tuck his tail and run because his mom put her foot down. And it shouldn't even have to be that way. If this is your sibling and this is your mother's house, because he said that after he helped her get the house renovated, whatever she did down there was her business, and that as long as she was alive, it's hers. But then he really still wanted to kind of dictate what was going on down there. And when she put her foot down, it was a wrap. So he cut off some of his finances because that channel was doing very well, and showed his true character. You already kind of guess what his character is. He showed his real character. So I wasn't looking for this either. I literally was only looking for Grandma Lillie. That's all that I was looking for, was Grandma Lillie. I just wanted to check up and see if she was doing okay. See if there was an update on her whereabouts. And I didn't expect to run across the churches. I didn't expect to run across anything dealing with Tim and Megan. I didn't expect to run across anything dealing with the brother. But, I did. So I just think that like this right here, just it said so much without saying anything. It said so much. It said so much. So for anybody that's wondering about Grandma Lillie, I believe she's still living there because this is still reporting as her address. And her son is also using it as his address. Now this is the last slide that I have right here. And this is just showing how close they live to each other. So on the far left is Tim and Megan, or IAG Farms. And on the far right is um, Resurrection Ranch, or Grandma Lillie's house. It says 7.8 kilometers, 7 minutes apart. He has said that before, but this is a visual of how close they stay to each other. This is a visual of how close they stay to each other. I don't live in the same hometown with my mom anymore, but when I did, I didn't live this close to her. Almost as close, but it was a little bit further than this. And I still saw her all the time. Now, I didn't see her every day just because, you know, when you have children that are in school, you have a family that you're taking care of, you're a wife. I was taking classes back then, so I was doing night school, full-time job, just busy. So we went to the same church. We would definitely see each other at church, but there would be days that, you know, what y'all doing? I'm just, you know, stopping by to see what's going on. And there's no way that I could still be living at home and that not happen. So it's very odd for them to live this close to one another and for him to still keep that type of distance. And even if he wants to continue to be childish, what about the boys? What about his children? Grandma Lillie was so affectionate with the boys, patient with the boys, like you would want your grandparents to be. And you could tell that they loved time with her. You know, there's a different type of freedom with most grandparents. They let you do almost anything. Almost anything. And so you know that, I can let my hair down a little bit. I can have a little bit more fun if I get to go to my grandparents' house. And that's been taken from the boys. And she's only 7 minutes away. And, you know, I'm not saying let it be to the point where she's not able to just enjoy herself, but I know that they all miss each other. And you have one person that's being so stubborn that they will pretend like they didn't introduce us to this person, that they didn't start a whole channel, that he was not giving us the ins and outs of everything that was going on in between everybody, and then just poof, nothing. Radio silence. And people are supposed to pretend like it never happened. Very odd. So, I don't have pictures galore. I don't have, oh, this is what she was doing on this day and that day. But, you know, we all have a digital footprint. And there's a saying, the internet never forgets. And it doesn't. The internet never forgets. So, you know, she has a digital footprint out there, and so far it's saying that she's still located here. It gave past history, and that's how I know that her son is her son, because some of the past information matched. But as of right now, this is still reporting as her location. Nope, nothing different. The house is still there. It has not been moved. It has not gone on the market. And it appears to still be occupied by her and her son, her oldest son. So hopefully that gives you all some type of clarification and a little bit of peace. I don't see an older son coming in and seeing the house left in the condition it was and it not be finished by now. I don't see that happening. I don't see a mother opening up her home for her child to come and stay with her, and he not be on the up and up. Because you know, you can have that child that you just like, let me help you pay your rent to make sure you keep your own roof. But if I'm allowing you to come in my house, there's a piece that goes with that. You're not about to come in here with all that rah-rah like everything is just what it's supposed to be. So if you are a manly man, if you are a responsible man, if you are a caring man, you're not going to come into your mom's home and see unfinished projects and not make sure that they get finished. So if he's still there, I don't see him not making sure that those things have been done. So this is my update on what I feel like is going on with Grandma Lillie. And I just wanted to share it because it's probably been 2 months of when I get in the comments, where is Grandma Lillie? And I'm just like, oh God, I wish I knew. So I decided to take out the time and just research where is Grandma Lillie. And the internet says Grandma Lillie is still where she was. So I believe that to be true, because they told a lot of other stuff too. So I definitely believe she's still there. I don't think there was anything else. I believe that was the last slide that I had. I'm gonna make sure before I miss something, but I think that was the last one. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that was the last one. So that was it for this informative video. That's what I'll call it, because it wasn't a reaction. This was just being informative and trying to, do my due diligence and help the situation. Hopefully I didn't bore y'all too bad, but I was just, wanting to answer some questions, and this was the only way that I knew how to do it. Like I said, there's not pictures of, physical pictures of her doing anything other than the one of her on the lawnmower. But I believe she's good. I really do. When you have inner joy, you're always going to be okay. Even if something doesn't work out in your favor, it's a season. And Grandma Lillie definitely was a very strong believer. So I don't think that she is like, trying to, I guess I'll do it like this. I don't believe that Grandma Lillie is in a bad position. She has a very strong walk with God, and so nothing leads me to believe that she's down and out. I just, everything happens for a reason, and even though Tim said he was going to retire her and she was not able to stay retired, she still has a paid for property. So her expenses are a lot less than what they were. And there has to be peace of mind in that. She's not paying rent. She's paying utilities, and maybe if she has a car payment and insurance, that type of stuff, but not, worried about a mortgage as well. So she's still in a better place, and I think that she's in a better place minus a headache. So there has to be some serenity that's just happening out there. Just like you see her in this picture right here, riding the lawnmower. Just doing her. Getting out, keeping her property up, keeping it nice, and just, living life. Drama free. So I'm going to go ahead and end this here. I just wanted to come and bring that little bit of information. The videos that they have been putting out for me, it's like watching paint dry, and I'm just not interested in it. I've tried. I watched them, and I tried, It may be like 2 seconds of something worth talking about, but not enough to make a video. So, you know, I was like, yeah, I'll just stay on subject, but do something different. So that was my, I almost say reaction, but that was my response. I'll just say response to what's going on out there right now. And then I'm going to do another video, and it'll be a little different too, just because I can't with the construction, and I same old, same old. I can't. If something exciting happens, we'll all be there together, but I just can't right now. I want to do another live, so I'm going to be posting that. I don't know exactly when, but it'll be within the next few days. I want to do another live because it's been about a week now, so maybe it's going on 2. Yep, I think it's going on 2 weeks, so I'm definitely going to do another live in a couple of days. I know some of you keep saying that you missed them and want to be able to get in on one, so I will be posting it on the community page, so just be on the lookout for that. But I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.